Well, should we go back to the
So
1990s, because we still have a few things to cover, and I'm looking sideways right now because I have a note, so I should remember what to say. One thing that came up from the mast cell studies, and you remember that we saw an increase in the mast cell population, and the mast cell has nothing to do with telecom masts. It's a German name for big, stuffy cells, and they are the common denominator for clinical entities such as oversensitivities, asthma, and allergies. And of course, to find such an increase in electrohypersensitive skin, well, it made perfect sense, because if you expose people like for X-rays or radioactivity from radioisotopes such as plutonium, uranium, radium, and so on, they will have a dramatic increase in the mast cell population. So that's a classical radiation damage reaction. So when we saw the same in electrohypersensitive people, we felt that no, they are not postmenopausal women. They are not people with a low level of education. They are not victims of any mass media-driven psychosis, anything like that. They are actually harmed from radiation, not ionizing radiation, but from non-ionizing radiation. And again, you know, looking back, I'm always surprised that, for instance, the real, and in quotation marks, experts on radiation, they would be dermatologists. And in my world, they are not really the experts, but they always say, no, non-ionizing radiation cannot do anything in the human body. Have you looked? No, but it's too little energy. So they had preconceived ideas how the world looked like, and they didn't even bother to investigate if their statements were true or not. And we were, either you can say naive, or we were genuine academic scientists. So we didn't take anything for granted. We said we need to investigate that. And while studying histamine, and we used antibodies to the molecule histamine that would attach to places like mast cells where you do find a lot of histamine. And I remember still, you know, one evening we were looking in our fluorescence microscopes, and I thought for a second that there had been some mix-up, because I started to see nerve fibers. And there are no nerve fibers containing histamine, we thought. So I went back and said, well, is there like a contamination here? Do I see the protein gene product 9.5, or what is it? So we actually took new slides and stained them again, and really kept a clean laboratory, according to good laboratory practice, as it's called. And the nerve fibers were still there. And then we realized that, wow, in the skin, and now we're talking normal healthy volunteers, you have a population, and they look quite different, of nerve fibers that seem to contain histamine. And if you then would have, in the electrohypersensitive skin, a dramatic increase in the number of such cells, and according to what we saw, also a great release of this molecule out into the tissue, and you have nerve fibers that deal with histamine, of course they will be impacted in some way or the other. And again, lending themselves to the idea that electrohypersensitivity is not in your brain, it's not imagination or anything like that. It's a real reaction when the body tries to fight off external non-ionizing electromagnetic signals and fields of colossal exposure level nature. And so we could publish a short paper about this, and later on we hoped to continue studies also in the electrohypersensitive people, but unfortunately, time-wise, it collided with the fact that people more and more said, no, you cannot investigate this. Maybe in the future, but not now. And they said it in a very elegant way. They said like, oh, very interesting, but given other projects that have applied for money, we must lower the priority for your project, and you are welcome to come back next year, and next year, and next year, and next year, and next year. It was an endless story of no.